So, this is the first time I'm making a video like this, and I have no idea how my audience will react, but I thought, why not give it a go? So, recently I visited Malaysia's Penang state, which is one of the two states in the whole country that has neither a Malay nor a Muslim majority. The other is Sarawak. Now, I already knew how Sarawak is different because I've studied about it. But in case of Penang, I was just curious to know why is it like this? And what's the history of this place and all that. So there I learned that Penang actually began with the capital Georgetown, which was named after King George III of Britain. In 1786, basically the Britishers founded this city. And till 1985, there was actually no bridge connecting the island to the mainland. So the only way you could cross was through ferry. Only in 1985 they built the first bridge. Now, back in the older days, Penang used to be a part of Kedah, which is the oldest known Malay Sultanate, older than Malacca, actually. But the problem was that Kedah was under constant threat from Burma and Siam, which is now Myanmar and Thailand. And in those days, Captain Francis Light showed up. Now, what happened was that Light secured the island of Penang from Sultan Abdullah Mukarram Shah of Kedah on behalf of the British East India Company. In exchange, he said, "We will give you military support against Burma and Siam." Now, he didn't keep his word simply because his superiors had no idea he had made this deal in the first place, and he couldn't give military support. His superiors could only approve it. Now, as for Kedah itself, it became a British protectorate in 1909 after the Anglo Siamese Treaty, and with a brief interruption that occurred during the Second World War due to Japanese occupation, Penang remained in British hands all the way till 1957 when Malaya declared independence. And later Malaya became Malaysia. Okay. Now, throughout these years, basically lots of Chinese and Indian merchants arrived in Penang, which gave it this unique demographic that it has today. Now, I visited the Old Protestant Cemetery in Penang's Georgetown, which is a historical landmark, one of the many, in fact. So it was officially founded as Northam Cemetery in 1786 and it closed down in 1892. And afterwards, all the burials were done in Western Road Christian Cemetery, which is located on the outskirts of Georgetown and is still in use to this day. Here are some photographs I took. There was this plague giving us some history, but it wasn't like very clean, and so it wasn't like easy to read it. But when I read reviews, I learned that in the past, this cemetery used to be very overgrown. It used to look like a haunted movie scene. And now they have actually improved it. There was also this plaque telling us about famous burials and like a map of the graveyard, but it only showed the Protestant one. There's also a smaller Catholic cemetery next to this one. But I couldn't go there because the door was locked, as far as I can recall. And there was this list of famous burials in the graveyard, including the earliest and the last known burial. Now, one thing worth mentioning is that during the Second World War, this graveyard was also bombed. So some graves and memorials were actually destroyed. Another thing is that when they were restoring this graveyard afterwards, they couldn't actually tell where each gravestone came from because it was quite quite congested back in the day. So some gravestones that they managed to salvage, but they didn't know where they belonged to, they just placed them inside walls as plaques. That's why if you go there, you will still see like in some parts of the wall, they have like installed gravestones as plaques. That was something I found weird because I didn't know its history. but then it made sense once I learned about it. case you are interested and you want to know detailed history of this graveyard, there's this organization in Penang known as Georgetown World Heritage Incorporated, or GTWHI. They actually published a sort of book, you can say, on the history of this graveyard, where they actually like track down, as many burials as they can. So if you're interested, I will leave a link in the description to this book. It's a full PDF. It's free. You can read it and learn more about it. And thank you for watching.